Hey, what's up? My name is Yardfish and Happy New Year. I have in fact been gone for 1 year and 1 month actually, and I have uploaded not a single thing in that time. However, I have been keeping busy. In fact, I kind of expanded my horizons beyond that of simple monkey abuse on the internet. I spent a couple months working with various NGOs, aggregating hundreds of videos featuring fake animal rescues that kind of burned a hole through my brain to provide data for the social media animal cruelty report, which is something that I really would like to share with people. Like, I feel like I need to make a video specifically talking about that because I learned many interesting things over the course of that investigation, such as the fact that most of these fake animal rescue videos, not only do they come from the same handful of countries, but they're usually made by the same exact handful of people who essentially run a business with fake animal rescues, pumping out literally dozens of these videos over a course of months that are then repeatedly spread across the internet in a viral manner. But that's for another time. I think if you've ever been on this channel before, if you've ever heard of me, the thing that I kind of focus on is that monkey torture, monkey abuse, monkey molestation ring that existed on YouTube and then transplanted itself to Telegram and other more secretive platforms on Facebook. Last year was a very eventful year with regards to what had been going on with that community. However, my lips were kind of sealed due to the fact that a number of these people were being processed through the legal system and I couldn't really say anything about what was going on. However, now that these people are now sitting on their ass in jail, I can talk about a lot of different things, and many of these things are important, make no mistake. But this particular video is a bit less so. This video is very petulant. You could even call it childish to an extent, because I've never really singled out a monkey fondler to pick on before, until now, and there's a reason for that. It's because of the very interesting experience I've had interacting with this unfortunate individual and the events that led to their arrest. Because I believe that this person deserves to be laughed at. They deserve mockery. They deserve ridicule for their actions. And because of the way the law in the UK works, I had to hold my tongue on this for quite some time, but now I do not. This is Holly LeGresley, the Immolator, as she was known on Telegram and Discord. And over here, this is Adriana Orme, who, I don't know, friend, I guess. She's one of the ancients and she went by the name of Noel on, again, Telegram. And these two creatures spent a lot of time online tickling their jelly beans to videos of baby monkeys getting tormented, tortured, sexually abused, and killed. And they were absolutely not ashamed of it, at least in their Telegram groups, and were quite vocal about that. Now, if you've ever had the misfortune of running into a monkey molester in their natural habitat, and by that I mean YouTube or Facebook comments under a video of a baby monkey somewhere, leaving some absolutely unhinged and depraved comments in those sections, just exhibitionistically revealing themselves to be some of the most deviant people on earth. And in some particularly unfortunate situations, there might be some of you in the audience who actually tried interacting with them. If you ever did, then you have my condolences and my pity. What you just tried to do was the equivalent of trying to poke somebody's swollen gonorrhea sac. The results are going to be smelly, messy, disgusting, and probably permanently scar you in some way. These people are known for being some of the most belligerent and antagonistic assholes on the face of planet Earth. I will just launch into some absolutely unhinged rants about baby monkeys, Karens, giving you lectures about the uncanny valley or telling you that, yo, baby monkeys are like a massive threat in Southeast Asia. Do you not know how difficult they make the lives of farmers out there? You disgusting, filthy Karen. Why don't you try saving some kids in Fiji instead, huh? Why don't you go feed the homeless instead of being concerned over monkeys or something? Unless you call them, say, a sexual deviant or a kitty diddler or something, in which case they have a complete nuclear meltdown. At which point they start flopping around like a dying fish and screeching at the top of their lungs that you must be the weirdo to even suggest such a thing. It is a very predictable pattern that they follow. And the Immolator, she takes everything I just said and she jacks it up times 10. She is one of the most insidiously unlikable gasbags I have ever seen in my entire life. And do you know how difficult it is to stand out amongst this freak show as being a particularly degenerate person? I can't actually think of an analogy right now, but it's difficult. Okay, it's hard. Now, the first time I ever ran into the Immolator to begin with was actually on Discord, and I didn't do it on my own. Instead, there is this website that I had been using for a number of months while I was making my videos called Kiwi Farms, right? If you ever heard of them, you're probably aware that their reputation is maybe not the best for a number of different reasons. It is essentially a website where people go to shit talk internet celebrities or schizo post about politics and the like, as well as becoming embroiled in American culture war shit. But these things are not of interest to me. There was one thing that our website did that was extremely useful, and that was cataloging, documenting, and archiving the activities and behaviors of zoo sadists, people who get off on torturing or sexually abusing animals. They were one of the only places on the internet that had actually been keeping track of these types of people, and as a resource, it was extremely handy. And I had begun working with a number of users there to track down some of the more prominent freaks who were a part of this community, as well as individuals who were actually creating and producing the content of baby monkeys being snuffed. And over the past 2 years, they've helped not just myself, actually, everyone who works in this field, put away some very unpleasant people and help severely cripple this community of online zoo sadists. I genuinely want to shed light on many of the things that they have done in the coming months. And this that I'm about to relay is one of the first examples of that. There was this one guy that showed up one day on a mega thread dedicated to talking about these types of people and mentioned that he had managed to find his way into a Discord group run by monkey molesters and had done a complete rip on everything that they had there and was now trying to figure out what to do with it. How do you get this to the police or whatever? So I gave this guy a message and I told him, hey, I could take that off your hands and get something done with it. I told him who I was, showed him some of my videos, and he agreed. And it was an extensive log, and the first time that I had ever seen the inside of one of these groups. And to that guy who sent me these logs, you said you didn't want to be credited by your name on Kiwi Farms. Instead, you told me to simply use Moses Mildred when referring to you, and that, that would be enough. So, Moses Mildred, thanks. I know you probably did this 3 years ago, not thinking that it was going to go anywhere at all, but it did. These Discord logs were actually kind of instrumental in getting the conviction for Holly LeGresley, the Immolator. It was used in her trial. You can see little snippets of it on a video that was released by the police department that was involved in her arrest. So yeah, dude, you should take some pride in that. The fact that you got a hobgoblin convicted. Not many people can say that. And to anybody who might be watching, right, thinking that there's not really a whole lot that you can do about freaks on the internet. Yeah, actually, sometimes there is. It just takes a tiny little bit of effort sometimes. Little things can go a long way, such as just taking a screenshot of some weird shit that you saw online. So anyway, back to the actual content of the Discord logs themselves. This is where I first ran into the Immolator. She has more than 700 references in just the first page alone of these logs, because she was gifted with this unique talent, this inability to keep her mouth shut for more than 5 seconds. She is constantly yapping, constantly flapping her gums, and it is always about the most diseased shit imaginable. She's sitting here talking about having a garden filled with impaled baby monkeys, using dildos to split infant monkeys in two, really going into a ton of details with regards to how to best implement pain and suffering on defenseless infants. But like the thing that really stood out to me in particular was this fixation that she had with regards to torturing infants in front of their mothers. And I'd used some screenshots from her Telegram accounts as well to prove this point. She just kind of had this thing where she would go off at length about her fantasies regarding torturing babies in front of their mothers or vice versa. Just some really graphic, really depraved mother-child torture. Like she'd talk about taking an infant away from its mother the second it's born, torturing it, then handing it back to the mother after burning off her nipples so said infant couldn't nurse. In fact, just the idea that an infant out there was separated from its mother was something that gave this barely mobile gremlin some kind of debased joy. Like I saw her fantasizing about keeping a little baby monkey in her backyard stuck in an oil drum, and she'd head into that little shed and he'd be sticking his little fingers through the holes, begging for its mommy and being cold and stuff, and of course that would give her pleasure and she would respond like the unwanted parasite that she was. Like seriously, this woman kind of joked in some of these chats that her family thought she was a freak. thought she was kind of a weirdo, kind of a freak, and they was completely correct. They was absolutely on the money. Lord only knows what kind of unspeakable thing she'd have been doing to herself in front of that baby monkey, which hopefully would have struck it blind or dead. I know I definitely wasn't going to survive bearing witness to such a thing. Now beyond that, she also had a fondness for explaining exactly how torture should work and its many intricacies, specifically with regards to bonding with the torturer. Alternating between comfort and pain, torturing the animal, then giving it affection, then back to torturing it again over a period of time. So it becomes kind of confused and develops like Stockholm syndrome, so that they see the torturer as both a source of pain, but the only source of comfort in their like 3-week long lives, because we're talking about literal baby animals here. She loved talking about that shit. And I just want you to keep that in mind. Keep this very specific baby hate in mind. Because monkey molesters in general, they get real butthurt, they get real upset when anybody draws any sort of parallels between little simians and human children. They'll write you a damn essay, an ardent, passionate essay about the importance of human children, how much they matter, and must be protected at all costs. Like, you stupid Karen, do you have any idea how many children are starving in Zimbabwe right now? Do you know how many subway Jareds are preying on children as we speak, as we exchange words right now? Or what are you doing about it? Nothing. Instead, you sitting here fretting over some stupid tree rats, some monkeys. Like, the way these people talk, you'd swear to God that they're on monthly missions to the third world to care for abandoned orphan children or something. So yeah, just keep that in mind for later. But anyway, back to the Discord logs. This was my first insight into any of these groups that was actually involved in the distribution of explicit torture and snuff videos. And Immolator, she had a big fat archive, like 90 gigs, I think at one point she eventually let it slip. So I took note of her at that point, but there wasn't really much that I could do because, well, I mean, I'm just some scrub. What can I do about this? This was just somebody who was extra deranged on a forum filled with deranged people. Just take note of it, maybe use some of her statements in a video or something one day and then move on, right? But as luck would have it, a couple months later, due to my work with Lady Freethinker and Action for Primates, who had seen my videos and had gotten in contact with, and we started working together, they had been approached by some journalists from the BBC after they did their first press report, their first expose on this kind of stuff, right? And those journalists began their own investigation. They started looking into where this content was coming from, who was creating it, and who was buying it. And at that time, I was really starting to dig into that. So we were introduced and they requested my help tracking down these people. And also, as a caveat, they were particularly interested in any consumers or producers who were from the UK, their own backyard, because they had a lot more influence back there. So I was like, sure, I guess, why not? And for anyone who's watching and is not aware, the investigation that took almost 2 years with the BBC did culminate in the production of a documentary produced by them called Saving Minnie, as well as an extensive write-up called Hunting the Monkey Torturers. If you don't really know a whole lot about this community and the things that have occurred within there, I would strongly recommend giving that a look because it's a very, very good jumping off point into how this kind of stuff works without being particularly graphic. So with that goal in mind, me and my friend Lucy, who ran the YouTube channel Mad Monkey Militia Mayhem, who also covered these types of topics, well, we got working and scribbling around into various Telegram groups and the like. Long story short, gonna cut to the most relevant part, we ended up in a group run by a guy called Michael McCartney, or Torture King. He had reached out to us and offered us information on the members within his group. Now, you might hear this, you might be sitting there and thinking to yourself, Yardfish, that sounds kind of weird. Why in the hell would somebody do that and not really seem to want anything in return? Well, here's the thing about this community that I feel is not really talked about a whole lot. The people that hate monkey molesters the most are other monkey molesters. I don't think I have ever seen another community out there that is as prone to infighting as these weirdos. They smile through their teeth at each other in public groups. They are overly saccharine, overly nice to each other sometimes. And then in DMs and private messages and smaller groups, they just absolutely tear their friends apart. They just savagely rip into them, just insulting them, denigrating them, debasing them, revealing all of their secrets. It is hilarious to behold. And we were in a lot of these groups, and the funniest thing about that is so was the BBC. So was a bunch of feds probably, and we're all looking at these people be the biggest bunch of dinguses ever to walk the earth. And their leaders, the people with the most amount of prestige, the ones who command respect because they create content and stuff like that, they hate everyone below them. Like, I'm talking actual contempt and scorn for their contemporaries. Like, just listen to this brief clip between myself and Torture King.
And then when I started on my, I know I was telling you about how I, open up the whole, hey, we got trust on my page here, so we can be open and honest with each other.
Yeah.
And they fucking fell right for it,
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Jesus. Yeah, it's fucking hilarious.
But, yeah, like...
I mean, they were sending me pictures of themselves and everything with their real names. One guy even sent me a social security number.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every time, like, I have, like, some sort of breakthrough with these people, like one of these infiltrator types, like, send me messages, I'm just, like, constantly dumbfounded by how stupid these people are.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, wow.
So in this weird sort of way, many of the people who kind of run things in these communities, they sometimes come to us and feed us information on their peers in the hopes that in some cases we will get rid of them, that we'll mess with them, that we'll do something that will benefit them in some way, shape, or form. And you know what? By all means, I heartily encourage each and every single monkey fondler watching this video right now. Our door is always open. You want to show up and rat one of your friends or your enemies out? By all means, please, you are welcome to do so. And hey, if you manage to give me some really juicy stuff, I have no problem giving you like 25 cents in exchange. But jokes aside, yeah, that's kind of how it works sometimes. I don't know if McCartney expected that he was going to get his ass caught too, but, well, he did, and now he's in jail. But anyway, his group, contrary to what I've seen media reports say a few times, was not the main group within the monkey torture community. There is no centralized leader within this community. It's just a bunch of jackals fighting each other for positions of prestige. And he did have one because he did produce and supply content, and he did earn the trust of the followers within his group, which is funny. And as luck would have it, the Immolator happened to be a member of said group and happened to be a member who absolutely trusted him. And throughout the course of events, we were able to learn a number of things about her. For example, she sent this lovely image of herself. Yeah, she and a number of people did in fact send in photos of themselves when Michael McCartney requested such a thing. I told you, these people, they're not very smart, and it's never really discussed. Their cruelty and their sadism is usually a topic on discussion. Like, there are organisms inhabiting your intestinal tract right now that can and will outsmart these people, because it's not simply limited to them sharing photos of themselves. No. These people will do the dumbest shit imaginable. They will get into relationships with each other because they're so unbelievably horned up, and then they send each other nude photographs. They send each other sex tapes in some cases, and then unfortunate scenarios, those things have ended up in our inbox, and we were subjected to things that no human being should ever see. In fact, one of the worst VOs that existed within this community, a guy who killed around 90-something infant monkeys and made a multitude of videos over about a 1.5 year period. The way we caught that guy was so unbelievably stupid, I don't think anybody would believe it if we didn't have the proof to show it. And that is something I will definitely be making a video on because it's too stupid. This guy was convinced by his degenerate American clients to upload a video of himself jerking off in some Indonesian toilet somewhere and upload it to the internet, which led to a series of catastrophic events for him and his friends. I'll just let that sit for now. All I want to reiterate is that their stupidity is beyond human comprehension. It is a nebulous and eldritch thing. If their stupidity were to manifest in some kind of corporeal form, it would tower over every human achievement. Like, I don't know how to state this enough. Maybe one day we could, like, build a list or create a list of the dumbest things that these people have done to really make that point clear. But as for right now, yeah, these people are dumb shits. But what makes it truly special, what makes them truly stand out, is not just that they're dumb shits. It's that they're dumb shits with the arrogance of a Mensa wannabe. They genuinely believe themselves to be some kind of 4D chess masters who are somehow outwitting everyone else. Like Holly LeGresley over here ran around giving people lectures about the right tools they need to use to avoid detection, like burner phones and VPNs and all these things. Despite the fact that she, like most of these people, had the OPSEC of like a 97-year-old Okinawan fisherman living in a hole. So how does genius get caught? Well, allow me to relate our particular story. Once we began working with the BBC on this large-scale investigation, obviously I wasn't going to be posting videos about anything that I was doing. I don't think I need to explain why, but I still wanted to make a video of some sort, and I couldn't really arrive on a topic to discuss. And after scrapping a number of entries, I decided, you know what, I'll just make a video for the sole purpose of dunking on these clowns to make fun of them and to trigger their berserk button, because as I've mentioned before, they get really, really anally anguished anytime you mention sexual deviancy or that, you imply they might be a toddler toucher. So I decided to compile quite a few instances and events of them being open degenerates and make a video just about that. In particular, I wanted to target Holly. I wanted to show the weird shit that she would say and the weird things that she would do. Maybe see if I could get a response. And that is what led to the creation of that video called Denial, which in retrospect is actually, there are many disturbing things in that video because we are at its core talking about people who are getting off on sexually abusing animals here. It was funny to rile them up, yes, but the content itself is disturbing. So I used a number of her comments from her discourse and elsewhere and slapped them in there. And sure enough, it had the intended effect. They got pretty mad, but nobody got as angry as Holly did. Because I posted that video right before I went to bed and woke up to a procession of antagonism on Telegram. Holly was seriously giving me a what for and putting me in my place. And hilariously, she was sharing this with every single person in that Telegram group, giving them a blow-by-blow account of her actions, spamming my YouTube channel. Take a look at what she had to say. And that elderly goofball Noelle or Adriana Orme right beneath her, egging her on. To me, I just thought it was ridiculously funny that calling her middle-aged pissed her off so much. Like, she was talking about that for days after. And of course, having a temper tantrum about her weird sexual comments and shit. She would frequently claim that she was asexual to deflect from these allegations, which was interesting, I guess. But perhaps the absolute best part of it is that this genius, this titan of the mind, right, apparently thought that she was having some kind of back and forth with me on YouTube that morning, that she would post something, I would see it, and in sheer horror that her words, her truth, her gospel would be known to the masses and everything I've ever said would be revealed as fraudulent, I deleted her comments. And every time I would delete it, she would refresh the page and post it again. How could I contend with the will of someone who wielded the power of the copy and paste button? I'm guessing she was apparently believing that I would be eventually overwhelmed and go cry in a shower or something, and she would be able to claim righteous victory over me. Yes, these genuine brainlets, I should say, apparently had no idea that YouTube will automatically flag any comments with profanity or anything that an algorithm perceives as a threat or even a slightly unpleasant comment in some cases, and they will shunt that off into the nether regions. You will have to go into a special part of your YouTube comment section and manually approve these comments, which nobody ever does. This creepy leech wasted hours of her day engaging in mortal combat with a bot to an audience of cheering pistachio brain numbskulls as I was curled up in my bed having a snooze because this shit was happening at 4 in the morning. And what made this even funnier was knowing that there were a bunch of journalists from the BBC in there, along with police who would eventually see this. They're all sitting there looking in at humanity's weakest links, have some kind of chimp out, and then hearing their comments on it, it made me feel warm and fuzzy inside. But this also did have a surprising effect beyond simply messing with these people. Holly just would not shut up about this, and unfortunately we don't have all of the logs from that time, so I can't show you all of her whining, sadly. But she started to annoy people so much, and to be real, they probably were already very, very annoyed with her and her inability to shut the hell up. But eventually, one of these annoyed people became the guy who ran the group itself, Torture King Michael McCartney, where he just sent us this, a little snapshot showing us that Holly LeGresley just sent him a payment on PayPal, a PayPal account that had her real name on it, Holly LeGresley. And I know I've been calling her Holly LeGresley sometimes during this video, but I suck at remembering names. But this absolute toenail eater, this person who was going around giving people OPSEC advice on how they need to keep themselves safe, was using her real damn PayPal account with her real name attached to it to buy animal torture snuff on the internet. This is natural selection at play. This is the culling of the feeble-minded. Like where I live in Trinidad, my neighbor keeps a bunch of chickens for fun. And I would stand in my room sometimes looking out my window and just watching these critters just do incredibly stupid things. Like they would start chasing each other seemingly at random, just in circles around and around a tree. And then they would abruptly stop and go back to what they're doing. Those chickens might as well be neurologists compared to these people. So yeah, once we had this information about who Holly was, what she looks like, what her name is, we sent that info to those BBC journalists who in turn sent it to the police, and within a matter of time, our dear friend was picked up. And how do you think she reacted to that? Remember, these people are particularly belligerent online, right? They have a lot to say about what they would do if they were confronted. They have a lot of excuses that they would like to give, a lot of explanation for stupid, ignorant Karens out there. Let's see how Holly reacted.
Holly, the time's 6:45 and I'm arresting you on suspicion of encouraging and assisting in the commission of causing unnecessary suffering to a protected animal under Section 4 of the Animal Welfare Act. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention one question, something which you may later rely on in court, and anything you do say may be given in evidence. Okay.
Oh, million pity, her tear dropped down so fast. Where was all that sound and fury, Holly? Why didn't you start telling that officer that he should be out saving kids in Fiji or something? Why didn't you explain to them that monkeys, especially baby monkeys, are pests in Southeast Asia, and that's why they deserve to have a stick shoved up their ass or something? Look, it's been 3 years, more than 3 years since I've been doing this kind of stuff, and each and every single one of these people, despite their big talk, every single time that they are confronted in real life, somebody actually rolls up on them. Despite everything they say, their balls just magically detach, fall to the ground, and roll away into the shadows, never to be seen again. There has been no exception to this. Instead, these people, they fall to their feet and they grovel like worms, because they know what's going to happen to them next. I suppose I should also use this opportunity to talk about Noelle, seeing as I didn't really mention her for most of this video, but I don't really know what else to say. She was not nearly as active as Holly in this community. She is a 50-something-year-old grandmother who, in between baking cookies that may or may not be laced with arsenic, she spends her time watching videos of baby monkeys getting violated and torn apart in the most horrific ways. And, just like Immolator, she had a bit of a creative mind. She was all about the ants, the cheese graters, the pins, and the fake stitches. Well-versed in the arts of suffering when it came to small animals. And like Immolator, she was, of course, a fan of psychological torture. Seeing infants in mental anguish did some funny things to her, I suppose. But do you know how surreal it is to listen to this psycho talk about torturing baby animals 1 second, and then the next she's talking about her family, she's talking about the fact that her son knows that she's in a monkey group. He just doesn't know what kind of monkey group. And that really makes me sit and think sometimes, like, what did her family do when they found out about this? What did her son think? What did her grandkids think? What did her neighbors think? Did they suddenly remember like one time they came home and they found Junior mysteriously stuffed into a microwave and Noelle is just like milling about casually and they're like, what's going on here? And she says, I don't know nothing about that. I was just here making some bangers and mash, some bubble and squeak, some toad in the hole, some ham and jam. I had nothing to do with that. Was there ever a series of extremely weird and unusual and slightly disturbing events that took place in that household that now they suddenly had a greater understanding of? Because, hey, Mimo is kind of batshit crazy. That's probably why we kept finding cats drained of their blood in their backyard or something. Yeah, that's just speculation, but we didn't really have a whole lot to do with her actual capture. Like, she did reveal a couple of things about her location at times, but as far as I'm aware, this was pretty much entirely the BBC's doing. They tracked her down and did what they had to do. And everybody else gets to sit back and watch these two freaks get tossed in jail. And some hopefully adequately compensated courtroom sketcher guy was able to produce masterpieces like this one. You know, a picture says 1,000 words, but this one just says 2. Womp womp. Because again, when these people were brought to account for their crimes and they were put in front of a judge, they finally had the opportunity to tell the world all of these things they constantly ranted and raved about in their little groups, all of these justifications and rationalizations as to what motivated their behavior, the uncanny valley, the fact that monkeys were apparently pests, or that they just look like little goblins and therefore have it coming. None of these explanations were put forward. Instead, Holly, despite her well-documented and self-professed love for torture and pain, and also, I found this in one of her old logs, she went on a medical tour once, and when the doctor guy wasn't looking, she decided to cop a feel of some corpses, and then bragged about it. Yeah, despite all of these things that she said, she decided it was a good idea to claim that she had post-traumatic stress disorder instead. And in the case of Adriana, she decided to say that I don't speak English too good, I need a Dutch translator. Everything these two little parasites could possibly do to prolong their misery and everybody else's. But no, none of it worked. Holly LeGresley was tossed in jail for like 2 years, I think. Adriana was tossed in for 15 months. They deserve more. All of these people deserve more. But the thing is, the reality of it, it's not the jail time that's the real punishment. It's not what they really fear. What really terrifies these people, what absolutely frightens them, is the knowledge, the understanding that everything that they've said and everything that they are will be revealed and exposed to the people closest to them in their lives, that their families, their friends, their employers, their children, the dudes packing their bags at the supermarket are suddenly gonna find out what they are. You know, the idea of ending up in some shack at the end of the street that them neighborhood kids like throwing rocks at, pointing and shouting, it's that dude or that lady who got caught paying people to stick their fingers up some baby monkey's bunghole. Ain't nobody wanna break bread with somebody like that. It's why they never choose to defend themselves with the bullshit that they spew on the internet in an actual courtroom, because they know full well nobody with a brain, a functioning brain, is gonna buy anything that they have to say. And now, both these people get to experience life on the inside. I take pity on those in the cells adjacent to Holly LeGresley though, because she's eventually gonna fart and they're gonna smell it, and then the guards are gonna show up next morning and there's gonna be a bunch of desiccated corpses in all of her adjacent cells. More victims of Holly LeGresley. Yeah, I'm being overly childish now. I'm being kind of a meanie head. But look, I had to keep my mouth shut about these people for like 2 years. And I can finally talk about it again. And I just need this, alright? I need to be able to like laugh about this, to vent about this. Because I've seen all kinds of deranged things over the last 3 years. You kind of have to take the upsides when you could find them. There are still so many things to talk about, like many of the people from within this very same group have also been arrested. For example, Bones over here, who blamed me and others who exposed stuff about monkey torture to the world for igniting his own interest in this kind of stuff. He was a completely normal guy before this. Yeah, well, his real name ended up being David Christopher Noble, and he was in no way a normal guy before this. He was dishonorably discharged from the military for sexual impropriety or an unprofessional relationship, as they called it, as well as fraud. And judging from the things that he said within these groups, such as him announcing that he will never be jizzing on the face of a monkey, completely unprompted, was some highly suspect behavior that got even more suspect when he said that he wanted the Immolator to blast his face with her eggs, which is, I've never really heard that before, but enjoy them 4 years in jail, Bones. One other person of interest was Nicole Devilbiss, who gave this lovely spiel over here bragging about how being identified and being put in videos and stuff like that is actually a good thing, and it simply makes you famous. It makes other people interested in doing what you do. And she just absolutely loves apparently getting under our skin. I'm not entirely sure how. I think she genuinely believes that Karen is some kind of debilitating insult that's gonna put people into some kind of catatonic state. But no, getting famous when you're an animal abusing monkey molester is not a good idea, as she found out with her 4 years in jail. It doesn't pay to touch monkeys inappropriately or to pay somebody else to do that. So stop doing it. Like, go plant tomatoes or catch fish or something, anything constructive. Now, there are also other freaks who've also been tossed in jail or are currently awaiting sentencing, but I've been going on for like 40 minutes at this point, so I think I should probably call it quits here for now and talk about them another day. There's been enough rambling. The next time I make a video, it's going to be a bit more serious and more informative, I would hope. I just wanted to get this out of the way first. Oh, and one last thing before I go. Remember I said earlier that Holly and many of these people, they just love talking about how important children are and how you cannot dare imply that there might be any sort of connection between their fixation on baby monkeys and human children. As I mentioned, they love writing essays about how important human kids are and how you need to protect them, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, very selfless, very noble. See, the thing about that though is once they get into private chat rooms and places where they're with people that they trust, usually foolishly, then their true feelings come out. In the case of Holly, she was quite willing to admit that she just absolutely hated children, and that was in fact the reason she was so fixated on baby monkeys in particular, something that the courts also discovered. In that case, they found out that she also hated pregnant women and probably wanted to do a lot of unpleasant things to them. I'm just leaving this here at the end because I want you to always keep that in mind, to consider that whenever you hear these people or see these people just going off on one of their defensive rants on telling you that there must be something wrong with you for suggesting such a thing. Just keep in mind that these people are organisms filled to the brim with shit. Anyway, later.
Kadim,